Welcome back to Disturbed Reality. In 2023, the Sinaloa Cartel are at an interesting position in the narco landscape. On one side, a bloody tit-for-tat war with rivals, Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, has been rumbling for several years, and on the other, several prominent members of the organisation have been in the crosshairs of law enforcement. Not only that, several have speculated on the growing tensions within the Sinaloa Cartel between its two biggest factions. One side being loyal to longtime Sinaloa Cartel kingpin Ismael "El Mayo" Zambada, and the other being Los Chapitos, who are led by the sons of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. The Sinaloa Cartel, one of the most powerful criminal organisations in the world, operating in more than 40 countries, has split. It has fragmented into primarily three groups, according to a US Congressional Research Service report. According to the US Congressional document dated in 2020, one of the three factions into which the cartel was divided is led by Aureliano Guzman, aka El Guano, the brother of El Chapo Guzman. Another faction is led by Los Chapitos, El Chapo's sons, including Ivan Guzman, and the third is led by Ismael Zambada Garcia, aka El Mayo Zambada. In recent years, reports suggest that El Mayo and Los Chapitos no longer see eye to eye for a variety of different reasons. Speculation suggests when El Chapo Guzman was arrested for the third time, control of the Sinaloa Cartel was more or less completely in the hands of El Mayo Zambada, El Chapo's most important partner. However, over the years, El Chapo's sons, Ivan Archivaldo, Jesus Alfredo, Ovidio, and Joaquin have become key players in the criminal organisation, being effective in carving out their own lane within the organisation. Skip forwards to 2023, Los Chapitos have become extremely influential figures within the Sinaloa Cartel, dealing in fentanyl, cocaine, and marijuana. According to some narco journalists, sicarios and factions loyal to Los Chapitos have tended to be more violent than those following orders from El Mayo. Factions such as Los Salazar and Los Ninis have been known to be incredibly ruthless and brutal. Ultimately, Los Chapitos represent the new school of drug trafficker, with hyperviolence and social media propaganda being their MO, as well as a lust for total control of the Sinaloa organisation, but also, importantly to them, honouring their dad's bloody legacy and family name. The Chapitos essentially share leadership of the organisation alongside Ismael El Mayo Zambada. However, tensions have grown between Chapo's sons and El Mayo in recent years. According to the Sinaloa News Weekly Rio 12, the friction between El Mayo Zambada and Los Chapitos began during the trial of El Chapo Guzman in New York in 2018, where El Mayo Zambada's brother Jesus and his son Vicente testified for the US Attorney's Office. Following their statements against El Chapo, they achieved a benefit in their sentences. Today, both are free men due to their cooperation. By 2019, the Sinaloa News Weekly was already reporting a rift between El Mayo and Los Chapitos. The dispute, according to Rio 12, would have arisen after the so-called Culiacanazo that led to the first capture of Ovidio Guzman. That Thursday, when Ovidio was in the hands of the military, Los Chapitos asked Mayo Zambada for help. However, the response was negative, and his men, according to the Sinaloa Weekly newspaper, did not help rescue Ovidio Guzman. Instead, sicarios loyal to Los Chapitos managed to free him. Allegedly, El Mayo had not agreed to Ovidio's release, and also refused to participate in the operation that pressured the government to free him, reported Rio 12. According to Rio 12, even before the Battle of Culiacan, El Mayo Zambada was already looking to break away from Los Chapitos because of their impulsiveness, inexperience, and tactical errors that put not only El Mayo Zambada, but the entire organisation at risk. Another point of contention took place in November of 2019, when an armed criminal cell of 8 cloned Sinaloa police trucks stormed the Agua Caliente district north of Culiacan. The area was then controlled by Juan Jose Ponce Felix, aka El Ruso, El Mayo Zambada's chief operative and leader of the Los Rusos cell of the Sinaloa Cartel, loyal to El Mayo. At the head of the armed criminal cell was Los Chapitos security chief Nestor Isidro Perez, aka El Nini, who, according to Rio Doce, came to claim the territory. In one video, filmed during the event, one of the sicarios says that they were the absolute mob of Ivan Guzman, and they didn't give a fuck about Lord Mayo. Naturally, Ismael Zambada took the disrespect personally, and his crew asked for the culprit to be handed over, but Los Chapitos refused to give him up. Within days, multiple people on both sides wound up dead, which prompted Los Chapitos to then ask Ismael Zambada to hand over El Ruso, leader of the Los Rusos faction. Ismael Zambada obviously refused, and ever since, Los Rusos have been fighting on and off with both Los Ninis and Los Salazar in various states, but especially in the border state of Sonora. Finally, according to Infobay, who aren't always the most accurate, but they speculate that the latest reason that would have caused Los Chapitos to no longer maintain a relationship with El Mayo Zambada is, according to journalist Antonio Nieto, is that El Mayo Zambada was responsible for Ovidio Guzman's rearrest on January the 5th, 2023. It is said that he decided to hand over El Raton as a warning to other members of Los Chapitos. Either they calm down or we'll calm them down, reported Infobay. Los Chapitos and El Mayo Zambada are currently disputing control of several areas of Baja California and Sonora, key drug trafficking states. The uncertainty around the Sinaloa Cartel has resulted in many speculating whether it is the end of the organisation as it's currently known, though I highly suspect this not to be the case, but more so clickbait headlines. Without doubt, Cartel de Sinaloa are currently stretched, and are not as cohesive an organisation as they have been in the past, but ultimately, they have gone through this before, whether it be internal civil wars, increased scrutiny from law enforcement, as well as warring with rival cartels. Despite their problems, the Sinaloa Cartel still have an incredible amount of influence throughout various states in Mexico, with politicians, civil servants, and police on the payroll. They will be around for many years to come. The interesting aspect of the difficulties in which Cartel de Sinaloa are currently encountering is the effect it may have on their efforts in battling the other mega cartel in Mexico, CJNG. Primarily, the two groups have been fighting in the state of Zacatecas. In recent months, CJNG have shown no signs of slowing down, continuing to operate with success, though somewhat under the radar as media scrutiny has been placed on the Sinaloa Cartel ever since the arrest of El Raton, Ovidio Guzman, in January of 2023. With the internal issues within the Sinaloa Cartel, CJNG will look to acquire more influence, territory and power, while their main rivals are not at their strongest. We will see how the situation develops. In relation to the Sinaloa Cartel, in recent days, a gruesome video made the rounds online, which many attribute to them, though which faction were responsible is currently unknown. In fact, it is possible that Cartel de Sinaloa were not even responsible for the video, though a name mentioned in the video makes them the main suspects. In the video, Marquitos Toys is mentioned. Marquitos Toys being a Mexican YouTuber based out of Culiacan, Sinaloa. On the surface, he appears to be your everyday influencer, showcasing a hedonistic lifestyle with no real substance behind the content. Though many suspect he is close with prominent members of the Sinaloa Cartel, In certain videos, he makes references to the Chapito clan, as well as having in the past worn Cartel de Sinaloa merchandise. The general consensus is that while he is more than likely not directly involved with the cartel, several around him likely are. Several of his friends have had narco corridos written about them, as does his brother. The song by Pantera de Culiacan Sinaloa, titled LKC, mentions that his brother is firm with a cousin, and that when it's time to work, he attends to the Americans, insinuating that the cousin is a trafficker. The cousin at hand is supposedly involved in the trafficking of M30 pills, M30 pills being counterfeit Xanax, usually containing fentanyl. Of course, I'm not accusing Marquitos Toys of being a narco, though it seems several around him are possibly involved in that lifestyle. I think the main takeaway is that a popular influencer such as himself would still be very useful for Cartel de Sinaloa. Many young boys follow his channel, and spouting pro-Cartel de Sinaloa propaganda ultimately makes them an attractive career choice for disenfranchised viewers who want the money, status and lifestyle that a YouTuber like Marquitos Toys shows on video. They're called influencers for a reason, and drug cartels very often use them to reach the youth. It's basically a soft recruitment technique. But nevertheless, what happens in the actual video? The video itself is 1 minute and 30 seconds in length. The clip is shot at the dead of night in what appears to be a rural area, though the exact location is unknown. One thing that is immediately apparent is the quality in which the video is shot. Even in 2023, many cartel videos tend to be low quality, though this one is surprisingly good, seemingly shot on a modern device. There are 2 victims in the video, both of whom have been stripped down to their underwear and are sitting down on the ground with their hands tied behind their backs. In relation to why the victims found themselves in that position, once again, there is no real backstory as to why they ended up in that situation. The only nugget of information suggests that they in some way crossed the cartel, so whether they are affiliated with another group or not is unclear, though the nature of the torture may indicate that they may have been loose-lipped, potentially collaborating with the police or a rival drug gang. As you play the video, the cameraman fixates on the 2 victims as they sit on the dirt ground. Blood is already coming out of the victim on the right's mouth, and it appears that he has a chopstick in his mouth. A man behind the victim grabs his ear as the person filming tells the victim to say something. It seems as if he tells the victim to say "Arriba Marquitos Toys." As the victim says what he's instructed to say, a big glob of blood pours out of his mouth, as does a severed piece of what appears to be flesh. The blood pouring out of the victim's mouth is incredibly viscous and thick, which I notice is very often the case with mouth injuries. The blood leaks out of the victim's mouth, making his chest a bloody mess. The Sicario behind him then reaches down and picks up the piece of flesh that came out of the victim's mouth, and it's a piece of his tongue. It's hard to tell, but it looks like a couple of inches of his tongue has been cut out. The Sicario picks up the toothpick that has been used to skewer the severed tongue, and he then forces it into the mouth of the victim on the left, who at this point appears to have no injuries. They force the victim to say Marquitos Toys again, before the Sicario standing behind him then outstretches his ear, before taking a razor-sharp combat knife and then starts slicing it off. Well, he doesn't completely slice it off. His entire ear is essentially hanging off his head. It bleeds profusely. The victim makes no sound as it is cut off, potentially due to shock or being drugged. The Sicario then moves to the victim's right ear and then repeats the process. He outstretches the ear and slices behind it. You hear the gristle and cartilage get cut through and snap as the Sicario pulls the ear to aid the cutting. As the Sicario is cutting off the right ear, pressurized blood squirts onto the victim sitting next to him. He completely cuts the victim's right ear off and throws it into the lap of the other captive. He then goes back to the victim's left ear, which is still hanging off his face. He cuts it off and once again throws it at the other captive. The Sicario filming then lets out a childish laugh as the camera fixates on the victim, who is bleeding profusely after being disfigured. The Sicario, standing behind him, then pulls his hair to lift his head up so that he looks at the camera. The victim's eyes look vacant, taking a while to focus on the camera. The scene makes me think that the victim was indeed likely drugged. The Sicarios chat among themselves for a few seconds, before the Sicario who disfigured him then bends down behind him. It's hard to make out what he is doing, but it seems he is doing one of two things. Either he is untying or uncuffing the victim's hands, or he is cutting off fingers. I can't make out what he is doing. The description of the video claims that the men challenged the cartel or went against them, and the type of punishment that was dished out does support that claim. Very often, Sicarios are instructed to murder or torture based on what the victim allegedly did. A snitch may have his tongue cut out, signifying that he shouldn't talk, and ears cut off, signifying he shouldn't eavesdrop. Adulterers who mess with cartel members' wives or girlfriends have been known to have their genitals severed, and with thieves, their hands cut off. I think the case with this video is that it is that type of situation. It's a punishment, but possibly not an execution. The fate of the two men in the video has yet to be revealed. It is possible they are dead, though maybe not. The video ends as the Sicario is bending down behind the victim. Although the clip doesn't detail yet another cartel execution, it's still incredibly graphic, bloody, and gruesome. In fact, the thought of going through that, then being permanently disfigured for life, is a grim thought to say the least. One other clip that also made the rounds in recent weeks stems from the ongoing war between CJNG and Cartel de Sinaloa, and although most of the violence has occurred in Zacatecas, the two groups have also been battling in the state of Chiapas in the past 18 months or so, primarily to gain control of the border between Mexico and Guatemala, which is important as it's not only an entry point for drugs coming into Mexico, but also migrants from other Latin American countries, who the cartels can then traffic into the USA illegally for a hefty price. The only context surrounding the clip is that it allegedly stems from the ongoing war between CJNG and the Sinaloa Cartel in the state of Chiapas. Not only are they fighting each other in the state, they have also been involved in skirmishes with local gangs, as well as sponsoring some to get them on side. It's possible that the perpetrators in the video are that of a smaller gang, and the victim is believed to be either a member of CJNG or the Sinaloa Cartel. It's only a short clip at 16 seconds in length, and it has been shot in a dark, desolate and abandoned room with white painted brick walls. As you play the clip, you see the victim surrounded by multiple armed gunmen, including one carrying an AK, as he is already being beheaded. The video starts midway through. The victim's clothes are completely ripped, and he is covered in blood. A Sicario uses a small combat knife to behead the victim, as hitmen shout propaganda as the gruesome incident is happening. One shouts, "The city of Cuita has an owner," while another states, "Your world went to shit, you son of a bitch." The victim's head is only held on by flesh, and is bobbing around like a pinball as the Sicario decapitates him. You hear blood dripping onto the concrete ground, which echoes in the room. Eventually, the beheading is complete, and the Sicario holds the severed head up to the camera, while one jokingly states, someone send him a plate to place it on. The other sicarios hold up the decapitated corpse so that it looks like it's kneeling. The video is only short, and may only be a segment of a longer video, though I've not found a potential longer version. It's short, but brutal, and once again, possibly associated with Cartel de Sinaloa. But anyway, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it, if you can enjoy this sort of content. Once again guys, thank you for the support, it's much appreciated. If you have any topic ideas, please feel free to follow me on Twitter. Link will be in the pinned comment. You can DM me, etc. That's the best place to reach me. Also, if you could check out my Twitch, once again, the link will be in the pinned comment. We have a better PC now, so we can play better games. We may play Modern Warfare 3 by the time this video comes out, after the video premieres. So you may hear me raging on Call of Duty. But anyway, stay safe, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.